last few weeks, I was pretty obsessed with getting comfortable with riding my GT Pro Plus. Again, the weight of it was significant difference between this and any other wheel that I rode. And I have to say, I do not know if it's a compliment. Typically, I want to say I got on a wheel and it felt natural, as if I've been riding it forever. This was absolutely the opposite with GT Pro Plus. I think it was the most difficult wheel for me to adjust to. What's interesting is GT Pro itself is the opposite. GT Pro I got on and it felt super comfortable immediately. Anyways, I've been riding it now for 170 miles, so I went through kind of a lot of iterations. Today I decided to do a litmus test. I decided to take it to the ride. It's a fairly long ride up to local mountain called Mount Hamilton. It's roughly a 40-mile ride, 20 miles uphill, 20 miles downhill. And the reason why I wanted to do it, because kind of my main concern was adjusting wheel to the point that on one hand it's easy to push it to accelerate, which I could test going uphill, and on the other hand, with the same setting, be able to control wheel when coming downhill. So I figured if I can do 20 miles and it doesn't get super tiring, that must be that I feel comfortable controlling it. So this was the goal of the ride. I budgeted a lot of time because I wasn't sure how smoothly it's going to go, and I think now I have some data points to report. Okay, so in my previous video, when I was talking about the initial adjustments that I had to do to the wheel, just to repeat, I changed angle to be up by 1 degree, which gave me a better sense of control while descending on an inclined road. At the same time, when wheel is angled up, it's difficult to make it accelerate up. So while typically I ride my wheels with paddle setting set to hard, in this case I had to change it to soft, and this actually made it quite comfortable. I was still able to push the wheel to accelerate, even accelerate uphill. At the same time, I still retained the necessary control when descending. I used it with Clark pads. As I mentioned, I needed something like this to have good control of this wheel. Typically, less form-fitting pads such as Titans did not work very well for me. Another thing that I wanted to explain again, I had to adjust my stance. So I realized that when I ride my typical wheels, unless I'm racing or planning to do something aggressive, I'm standing pretty flat in the middle of the pedal. And when I need to do just minor adjustment to the wheel, I kind of nudge it with the opposite leg. So if I need for the wheel to go left, I nudge it a little bit with my right foot. And this works very well on all of the wheels, except for GT Pro Plus because of how heavy it is and how low its center of gravity is. With this wheel, you constantly need to do a version of what you do during racing, where you squat down and you more aggressively change your center of balance. Now, this is a little bit more tiring over long distances, but ultimately it's not that bad. And once I realized that kind of this nudging technique doesn't work at all, and I always need to change my center of weight, wheel became much more steerable, and the ride became much more comfortable. Okay, now how did the ride go overall? I felt like it actually went surprisingly well. Going uphill, as I said, yes, maybe you have to use your legs a little bit more than with other wheels, but overall it was fairly smooth ride. Didn't get fatigued at all. And even coming downhill, I knew I'm going to be going a little bit slower than going uphill because I'm trying to control the wheel. Again, kind of slow down on the turns a little bit more because it's hard to do emergency slowing down when you're coming downhill. Still, it was faster than I anticipated. Overall, very pleasant ride. Felt just a touch more tired than doing the same ride with the X30, but that's expected. It's a heavier wheel. It does require a little bit more muscle to control. Last time I mentioned that I cannot talk too much about range because I didn't have enough data points. This ride actually was a decent data point. It's not long enough, obviously, to get to the beeps, but I did this ride several times with the X30 with 100% battery, and typically by the end I would end up anywhere from 45% to 50% battery left, depending how aggressively I ride. This ride was not as aggressive, so I think 50% is probably correct benchmark to compare with. When I finished the ride, GT Pro Plus had 61% of the battery left. So there's a little bit of greater range, greater capacity in the battery, even given the weight of the wheel, even given a different engine. I'm not sure if that exactly matches the 3600 watt hours versus 4,400 watt hours of GT Pro Plus. But again, with a heavy wheel, you expect that it's consuming slightly more energy. Still, there is noticeable increase in range, which is great. While driving back from the ride, I was trying to think what would be a good fit for this kind of wheel. So on one hand, you can get lighter wheels such as Master Pro that has 4,900 watt hour battery as far as I recall. And I never found that Master Pro was lacking in power when you're just riding. At the same time, it was a little bit more difficult to control on turns because it had higher center of gravity. At the same time, GT Pro Plus is also not exactly a racing wheel given its weight, so it lives somewhere in between. It's not the winner when it comes to long range, it's definitely not the wheel that I would choose if I was on a racing track, but it's an interesting combination. I think that overall I do find GT Pro perhaps slightly more comfortable to ride once you get used to it than Master Pro was, especially on the turns, descending, etc. But still pretty niche wheel. Definitely not something I would recommend to lighter riders. Even for heavier riders, anticipate that there's going to be some adjustment necessary to your technique.
Time I want the last shot, championship ring. Went to starter from a mascot, went to rollies from a G-Shock. Brand new kettle, no teapot. You should know I don't play. Go sicko mode like I'm T-Scott. Eagle vision from the treetops. Went to image from a green dot. Never had no limit, but I had some Reeboks. Keep it humble, but the fee's not. In the game, no free spots, but I earn what's mine. Nothing less, I'ma shine. So what's